Hello, I'm back with another, bi-monthly trailer video review, just general thoughts. I'm very positive on this trailer, which it is saying something. I think every trailer in the build releases game, with the exception of Garrus, I suppose, I was fucking annoyed. Though that was me because I was at a time where they were reviewing the terrible you lost stuff. Now that's behind me. I see the characters, they do cool stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, I clap. Right. So I don't really have any complaints to you from a story standpoint. I think this is a very good Ermac take. I think this is the second best Ermac behind 3D era Ermac, which you're not topping 3D era Ermac in fairness. I would not expect them to ever do that. Deception Ermac is the peak of the character. I don't think that would ever change. But this one's pretty cool. Because this is like an Ermac who's newly freed. He's realizing he can make his own decisions. Except he's not MKX Ermac. He's not a dumbass. He's not going to side with fucking Kotal Khan, is he? So, it's interesting, right? But, and I rarely am like this, I'm not focused on gameplay. Not gonna lie. Look how cool these guys look. So he has a new soul gimmick, which his souls are a different colour. They're not like the bright green they were before. They're kind of a bit of a teal colour. That's definitely mostly green, but yeah, there's more blue to it. I don't mind that. I think it actually complements this character model for him specifically. I don't think it'd work as well with a more typical Ermac design. Which, my thoughts on the design, it's a mixed bag, I'd say. Overall, I'm fine with it. I do think Ermac would be in need of alternate costumes, though. Like Quan Chi, he has 2 alternate costumes. I hope this season, now that Ermac's also joining the roster, he's the only other character alongside Quan Chi in the DLC with alts. I'd hope this means that this season 5, will be the one where in the shrine they put their Union Light and all the dark skins in there. That is hope, though. I honestly don't expect it because I feel it'd be too obvious of a thing to do. They bothered to add seasonal packs for Quan Chi before adding his existing alternate costumes. So, But, this default design's fine. I originally wasn't fond of the design at all, costume and the character model, because they did the Kombat pack reveal in that shitty, solar eclipse orange lighting, and it made them look really dark and stuff. Which, by the way, what happened to that solar eclipse thing? I was just in the launch trailer. What happened to that? But yeah, the Kombat pack reveal took place in, the same field as that reveal trailer, which is weird. I feel they should have just done a dark room like they always did. Because then you get a better look at the characters. But it is what it is. Look at him now in-game, he's cool. And even when the game came out and we first saw him in the story mode, I was like, okay, yeah, he's fine. He looks perfectly decent. And that was his costume, I meant, because I think it's got a very vibrant red. I like the whole robe aesthetic. It's got a lot of detail to it without being over-designed like the MK11 costume. But my issue was the model, which my thoughts on it, it's not my preference. Do I hate it now? Not really. It's interesting. I think it works for this specific Ermac. I think the soul magic weirdly goes well with it. This new colour for it. The fact that he typically has glowing green eyes, I think actually helps a lot. As opposed to just having the white eyes. I think having the green eyes actually does help with the grey. Which I'm not really sure why I feel that way, but I don't know. I think the colours surrounding it make the grey skin okay. Again, I'd rather have human skin for it, which it is what it is. I am normally on board with giving characters like these crazy aesthetic changes to make them more distinct and less human-like. You know, Reptile, my favourite reptiles, Deadly Alliance Reptile. But in terms of modern MK, I don't like the new demon phases for like Asher and Serena. Serena, it canonically does not even make any sense because her gimmick with the cameo is literally just switch between forms. So why isn't her human form just fully human? I couldn't tell you. And then Asher just looks kind of gross, you know. So I was fond of that. I'm not fond of the new full lizard reptile. Although saying that, he does look kind of cool in like the newer palettes that change him up. I still think that form needs its own clothes though. And now this Ermac with the grey skin, which isn't as bad as MKX Ermac, which actually at a time I did like that look for him, that like rotting mummy look. But yeah, I definitely don't like that now. This kind of is like a blend, I guess, of MKX and Ermac. Because he's got like the robes and like the hood thing and obviously the grey skin. And I think this is the first time it actually works properly. And the addition of a mask helps. I've seen people saying, yeah, we bullied the devs into getting a mask, let's go. He was going to get a mask anyway. There was no way he was not going to get a mask. His gear, I thought, would be the hood. Because a lot of his story mode stuff, like his Universe skin has a default hood. In Fars, there's a hood that fits that design, so that might have been an unfinished costume that they finished in a later update. So maybe they are adding that costume at some point. And then Order of Darkness skin had like a different hood, but then the image had the default hood. So maybe that was going to be the gear and they switched to masks. I thought they'd actually have the masks and the hood change. Like how Omni-Man, you basically have like 3 gear pieces that will just change all at once. I thought they'd do that, but for just like the hood and the mask, you put them together. Which I assume, unless they've just removed maskless Ermac altogether, I assume it's just the mask that changes, which is fine. I think it'll be quite underwhelming compared to the other gear pieces characters have. Because they have quite distinct stuff, like the distinct helmets of Peacemaker. Quan Chi's skin straight up changes in his, and Omni-Man's like has 3 gear in one essentially. So I think this will be less crazy. But people like mask as gear. I like mask as gear. I think having some sort of customization for the mask was necessary for Ermac. I don't know, maybe it's just the hood that's customized when they just added a mask. Because this is his default look. His default look isn't maskless. They changed that. This isn't just like a gear option. Like his render has the mask on now. Which is interesting. It is quite interesting. But I do think it is just going to be his masks, which can be underwhelming when there's only 10 gear pieces. And one of them I'd assume is maskless. I'd assume. Hell, maybe it's a bonus gear. Maybe you have you have like a maskless option available from the start, or it's in the shrine, because there's maskless variants of the other ninjas, except Rain, because his gear isn't in the mask, which is kind of dumb. But I do prefer the staff being gear actually. They have an option by even locking the shrine to go maskless. So maybe they do the same for Ermac. I would like to get those additional customization options for the DLC, because as it stands, that's my only real issue with the DLC, is that they are detached in a sense of cosmetics. And, you know, Quan Chi had seasonal palettes, which I think helps a lot. He has like a palette that changes his like runes on his skin to purple, and I'm going through the seasonal tower mainly just for that. The rest is just for like completion. Because I like the palettes of that season. But the thing I'll actually be using is that Quan Chi palette. Ermac will at least get some seasonal palettes. I'm sure when the seasons repeat, you'll see seasonal palettes from like the season of Fire, Vampires, and Ice. You'll get them for the DLC as well. The guests don't seem to have it, which I'm kind of fine with. I feel like you could have just done it, but Also, I think cameos are in more need of getting the seasonal parts. So hopefully we just see more in general. But I imagine Ermac is for sure getting seasonal parts like Quan Chi, because last season, if you're an MK DLC, you're involved in invasions. Peacemaker and Omni-Man aren't. The cameos, with the exception of Janet, I think, which Janet might just get added in season 5. You know, I think they're all like available to fight in invasions. They're involved in invasions, so I imagine Ermac's gonna be there too. Also, Ermac had a scrapped boss for season 4, which is curious. Maybe it was planned for a later season, because I think in Files like Raiden season was meant to come earlier. So I don't know. And then you've got Mavado here, and he looks fucking awesome. You know, I have been fucking addicted to this Mavado. I literally edited a screenshot I took of him in the little teaser clip they sent the day before, and I like did this at midnight. You know, these like fucking crazy analysis stuff, which I was going to about a few things. I noticed the tattoo which he has, which is actually the newer logo, which if you don't know, the image I attached there on the right, that is the old Red Dragon logo. He has the new one, which is basically like any like modern company just make it a simplified logo. For some reason, NRS's Red Dragon has a simple logo, and it's like an abstract version of the dragon, which, I mean, you'll probably see the tattoo later in the video. It matches that design, which I don't really mind, because the back of Mavado's jacket, it's not the old dragon, but it's like the same aesthetic. It's basically just a bigger version of it, which I actually think is better. I dig it. It makes it more noticeable in a character that is zooming around the screen. He's a character you're rarely going to see the back. So I think making it a bit more noticeable was the right call there. And then the tattoo being the simpler logo, I think works, because, you know, it's a tattoo, and I imagine he's not going to any professionals for it. So having the simpler emblem on his arm is a good idea, I think. I think I'm just having a Red Dragon tattoo, the idea in general is very cool. But, you know, like, there's like certain details. He's like the other 3D era characters in the sense that they have minor costume alterations, but still very faithful to the original in the sense of cameos, right? Serena's an exception. Serena's just a very weird case. I actually like her new costume a lot more, because I never liked her old designs. But I think the overall design of that cameo was on the weirder side. But, you know, two belts to the one. I thought it was a different story about it. It actually is metal. It's just odd lighting there. It actually is just his old metal shoulder pad. You know, I got the collar. That short sleeve wasn't there before. And then the boots are different. I was initially worried because they looked black. I was like, oh, they're just going to be regular boots. But I saw there was like a gleam from them. You know, they look shiny. But what it actually is he's got steel toe caps, and it's just like regular black boots, which still look great on him, right? And he's got like some heels, and he kind of stabs you with the heels instead of like the spikes on his old metal boots. I think that's a downgrade, but also I don't really care. For like a cameo, I don't really care. And I think the rest of his design is actually an improvement. Whereas with like a Darius or Shijinko, I think their new designs are actually worse, but they're so similar that I don't really care, right? Whereas this one, I think, besides the detail of the boots, I think the rest of this is just an upgrade in general for an already like top tier design. So I am quite satisfied. But yeah, he's got the soul gimmick, which, you know, if Kenji has a spirit, it makes sense that Ermac would have multiple. I don't know, like, the logistics and how that works. Also, like, if they're souls, why have they got, like, undead-looking forms? But they're, like, the Dark Souls creatures that, like, whitewashed Quan Chi for some reason. They're goofy. They don't really make sense. But I like them, and they're awesome for a moveset. so I can't complain.
You have shamed the souls of your ancestors.
So, I've seen his intro dialogue. I've seen the data mines for it. Really good stuff in general. I wish they did more with Kenshi. With Kenshi, they kind of just focus on the souls in his sword rather than their own bond, which is interesting, but I don't really care about, like, Sento or whatever that much. But like, overall, I like the Ermac. It feels like you're getting, like, a Deadly Alliance characterization for him, which he was in Kenshi's Conquest. And he's kind of wandering aimlessly with Shao Kahn dead, which is another plot hole to the whole Shao Kahn was actually alive thing in Deception, which was stupid. Like, NRSRs are bad, but that's a side tangent. So, like, Ermac's lost, and, like, he's broken free from his mind control spell, which in this case it's Quan Chi, which I love Quan Chi, but stop giving him these random feats for, like, creating characters. Although in this case, who else was going to do it, because Shao's a fucking general now, so I guess. But yeah, he's, like, on the neutral side, but, like, he's obviously not evil, right? Like, I imagine in the next game he's just going to help the heroes, because I think Ermac's, like, a lock-in to just be in the next game, right? Like, it wouldn't make sense to write him out the story, and he's certainly a popular enough character. He's probably the most hyped trailer there's been, I've seen a lot of hype for Ermac here. I mean, I guess by default, like, the guests get, like, more views, but within, like, the MK fandom, like, Quan Chi and Ermac have very much cleared the guest character trailers. Although I guess that makes sense, because if you're an MK fan, you're going to care about the MK stuff more. Whatever. He's cool. What's going on with his thingy? There's, like, a black bit there. Oh, that's just, like, the wrist tape going around. Okay, that's cool. His hand looks very white there. Like, he looks quite wrinkly if you look close enough, but it looks more just like regular skin that's just grey, which isn't ideal, but I'll take it. It's like the Deception Sub-Zero design, which is much better than this, frankly, like, if you're looking at the costume. But, like, in terms of the character model, I don't like evil grey skin. But with, like, the aesthetics they've gone for here, they've made it look fine, I feel. But yeah, I like this Ermac. I'm glad it's not like Jared Ermac. I'm glad that this Ermac is actually Ermac and not just, oh, fucking Sindel and Jared have conquered the collective. Which, by the way, how the fuck is anyone saying Sindel's a hero? Like, if she and Jared are, like, trying to conquer Ermac, that's fucking weird, right? They are not likable characters whatsoever if they're doing that, So I'm glad Ermac gets to be himself, and I'm glad there's commentary on how Sindel fucking sucks. Should Sindel be written that way? No, but there is, like, intro dialogue where Ermac and Baraka and, like, other characters discuss it. A lot of it is stuff like Melina just asking for, like, Jared and Sindel back, which, again, it's selfish. It comes across as very selfish, and I don't think it works for, heroic characters, right? I mean, Melina's meant to be intentionally flawed, I guess, which I hope isn't leading to her being a villain, but there's, like, a bunch of stuff that is like, oh, she's really hostile. Side tangent. To like, just in general, like, this Ermac characterization is fine. But, like, the overall lore with this new era, it does just negatively impact anything narratively. And that's, like, the only real overarching issue I have with a lot of characters, I feel, in this game. Cool intro there. Mavado, like, brushes his hair. Mavado's fucking hot. I don't think that's a hot take. I think everyone's realised that now. Also, I love his stance. I know when he stood still, he's just kind of, like, stood straight, which is kind of generic, but, like, you kind of need it for, like, his levitation movements. I like how he's not just levitating the whole time. I like how he like casually like levitates forward and backwards. He looks very cool doing it. And then I guess this explains why Shang Tsung doesn't have like any Soul Steel-esque animation, because Ermac essentially has it, like that whole telekinetic pull in, which here he doesn't do a throw of it, but like later on it's his throw animation, which I don't know what's going on there. I'm not like gonna fully analyze the gameplay, you know. If you want that, just go look up Ketchup's video, right? I will point out some stuff. His teleport, he's got his teleport back, which if you don't know, classic Ermac, like besides the telekinetic slam, I think he was just reusing moves from other ninjas. Mainly Scorpion, I think, was the character. He's essentially just got Scorpion's teleport with his own magic. It's more faithful to Scorpion's teleport, actually, because when he amplifies it later on in the video and he can combo off it. Whereas Scorpion in this game, his basic teleport, he doesn't do an attack. He only does the attack when amplified. Whereas here, he'll just do an attack. Normally, amplified, it will start a combo. Like, you know, I think he's like that in 9X and 11 Scorpion is. I think it's cool how they brought that back. And really unique to Ermac, but it's noticeable that it is like his old teleport that is very much like Scorpion's. I think that's a neat thing to bring back. They've done a decent job of bringing back very oddly specific old special moves, I feel, for a lot of these legacy characters to like make their moveset stand out. The magic effects on his soul stuff is really cool. Also, that teleport thing is fucking rad. How he just casually drops his knees on you. But like, I love the hands, and I love like all these effects. Kenshi's soul magic stuff, like his telekinesis energy, it's not soul magic. It's just telekinesis stuff. But they have connection to souls or whatever. I couldn't tell you the specifics. I'm sure the writers couldn't either at this point. But it looks very cool. It's very cool. It differentiates it from like a regular energy effect, which I always thought was fine looking, but this is really stand out. And dope Mavado throw. I like how his grapple hooks like dispense from his gauntlets now. I also like how they've given him like this electric power, which I don't know if he just has some sort of lightning power or it's just like his technology. I don't know. I think it's cool either way because it's based on his Armageddon anger management move, which is a power which gave him a massive damage buff. Which Su Hao also had, Kano also got it. It was just like a red energy thing that like came over their hands. I assume it's based off that. It's very different in this game, but it's definitely comes from that Armageddon move.
You might be many, but I am the one. You are not even Earthrealm's champion.
I like the Ermac voice. I haven't been too fond of like that voice effect for him in like 9X. I haven't really cared for it, but it's very much based on Deception Ermac, so I've always kind of appreciated that. So I can't really complain, you know. Because like Ermac, Conquest Ermac is like the start of the whole using we and us and R using, you know, stuff like that, and having that voice, because that's the first time he really speaks, right? So it is kind of cool how like Deception Ermac like permanently influences the character, you know, with the raps and stuff. Like Deception Ermac was super important for this character, making Ermac his own thing. Also the start of him having green energy and stuff. Deception Ermac is fucking crazy, you know. I think he gets respect, but it needs to be told about more how important Deception Ermac is to the character. Just like making him his own character, making him distinct, giving him traits that he still has to stay. With NRS, who is typically very unfaithful to the 3D era, which even this game, they're not exactly faithful to anything. You know, they're bringing 3D era stuff back, but, you know, the cameos, and even now they take some liberties with their designs. You know, the character's like Havoc. That's nothing like Havoc, you know? He gets like this crazy effect thing, which I'm sure is like some powerful buff thing. The soul carrying him like that is crazy. The mine. So, I actually expected Mavado to get an explosive, which he never actually had in the games before. But I thought they'd do this because in MK11, if you remember in Towers of Time, there was a very annoying chaos grenade. It was like a flash grenade, and it would create that chaos effect that inverts your controls. I assumed that they'd give Mavado some sort of grenade that would, like, I guess just have, like, his red energy effect thing instead of the chaos stuff, because it doesn't actually fit him. They just made it up. They just came up with it. They had nothing else to give Mavado. And then they just, like, claimed, oh, yeah, it's Mavado's move. Right. So they've sort of reworked that into a mine, which is very different, of course. It's a type of explosive, but that's where the similarities end. But I'm pretty sure that's what inspired it. Unless they just conveniently thought of Mavado having explosives 2 separate times. I'm pretty sure this would have just been an idea the teams had for a while for Mavado, which I like. I like the whole, like, shock thing. You know, you plant it on the ground, you can set up combo extensions for that. It's cool. Mavado has a bunch of combo extending stuff, and it seems very exciting. He's the only cameo so far that, like, has the more typical, like, 4 moves, you know? Which is, like, was the average with cameos, and then, like, the DLC showed up and you had Tremor with, like, 10 moves and Camille with, like, 13 or whatever, and Janet has, like, a whole stance of, like, 10 moves. It's crazy. So I guess Mavado, he does crazy stuff, but, you know, it is more back to the norm in some signs, which I don't think will harm him. Because I don't think there's anything else they could have done except, like, the fighting styles, which I don't know how you'd really work into a cameo moveset. I'm sure they would have found a way because they've been very creative, but I will very much take what they've done with him. I have no complaints with what they did with the moves. He has none of his hook swords, but I didn't expect them. For, like, a time where they've been getting rid of so many, like, weapons. Like, Darius only has gauntlets, and they feel like an integral part to his design. It wasn't like a random, like, 3D era sword or whatever. It was, like, orange, you know, it had, like, the same armor as his costume. It was, like, a part of the design. And he doesn't have them anymore. He's more of a brawler, which also works, but there's no gauntlets. Which, if you're going to get rid of any weapons, I think it's fine to get rid of the hook swords. I think Mavado needs to be dual-wielding some type of sword. I don't think you can do a moveset with just the grapple hooks. For a cameo, you absolutely can. Especially when it's calling back to his old special moves, which, as much as I love his gameplay in Armageddon, you know, like his special moves are basically just that. And then the red energy thing, which they've reworked. So I can't complain. You know, I think getting rid of the hook swords can help separate people's takes that this is just a Cabal clone. If you've come away from this trailer thinking that, you are just a stubborn douchebag who can't get over the fact that Cabal is not on a roster and Mavado is. Right? That is the only reason, because Mavado has not had hook swords since 2006. The MKX comics, he had just a different type of sword altogether. And now here, he has no swords, right? There is nothing alike between him and Cabal, except one move, which I'm sure most Cabal fans don't even remember, but I do, and they gave it to Mavado, essentially. And I think that was an intentional reference, because it's so specific, that I'm very cool with giving him. Also, he drops him like that, that's crazy. Also, I don't even know what that is, some giant Oni-looking guy. Which we see, like, in a Living Forest Ashes fight, like, Oni or demons. They never really specify if it's a demon or an Oni at this point. I think they're just the same. I think that's what NRS sees them as. They seem just the same, which, yes, Oni means demon, but, like, in MK lore, they were a separate species. So maybe it is, like, a dead Oni that died in the Living Forest. It's possible. Maybe that's what it is. But we've never seen anything like that guy. Like the skinny, tall, fucking eldritch horror guy. But I fuck with it.
You've changed since we first met. We believe for the better.
Which, yeah, you know. Also, I don't know if you're noticing, he does his levitate in between combos. You know, and with air combat, he can do it like at any height in the air. He does his levitate. He does his deception stance for it, which is very cool. Oh, hold on. I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I like that. I like how he does the levitate. I don't think it's like the old Mystic float where like it's basically he'll go into like a dive kick or he'll drop down. I think it's just a combo extender thing where you like activate it. You know, you'll combo cancel into the float. Maybe I'm wrong, you know, because there's probably some use just doing the float on its own, but they didn't show it in this trailer, so I don't know. But it's cool to have that, and it's cool how he does the deception pose with it. Which, yeah, it isn't right now. I'm not going to slow anything down. If, again, you want a deeper gameplay breakdown, there's like other videos. I'm not the guy to do that. But this, Mavado shows up behind the opponent, which also I really like how all of Mavado's attacks are like ambushes, except for like a couple. Like all of them, he just drops in on the opponent in one move, and the others he shows up behind the opponent. So you gotta watch out with Mavado, right? Which, you know, he grabs the opponent, he hooks you, and he drags you together. And you just collide like that. Which I fucking love. Because I assume it's inspired by this. Maybe it's not, but it's such a specific thing because there was one other special move that was only in Deception Armageddon that never made sense for Cabal, quite frankly. It was telekinesis. It was a telekinetic move, ironically enough, where he would essentially pull himself and the opponent together and they'd like smack into each other and they'd like fall down at the same time, just like in that move. I'm pretty sure that is inspired by Cabal, which, quite frankly, if you're going to take a move from Cabal and give it to Mavado, that is the one, because Cabal is never getting that move back again. That is very clever, and I don't think the idiots who say, oh, he's just a copycat of Cabal, I don't think they're even going to remember that move, right? Because they're fucking simpletons. They've never touched a 3D era game in their life, you know? So, yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm very cool with doing that. It's a very fun idea. And then he has his regular throw. Pretty cool. And then Reptile does some like teleportation stuff. He spits out a force ball, or at least like full screen acid, which he didn't have before. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm actually very excited with stuff like this because each update now has done that. You know, since the Quan Chi patch, which gave Darius like an overhead kick as like an ambush. Each update has done some sort of new move, or at least a variation of a move, you know, some sort of rework that affects the moveset. They've done that for every update. I mean, Oshijinko's getting something like that, or at least a big buff. And that is exciting, because I don't think MK's ever done that, where like you add on to a moveset. But that is very exciting because it does add a lot more possibilities, and it's a lot of effort going into essentially buffing characters, you know? You're not changing the stats, you're just straight up giving them new stuff, which is very exciting, and it's something we haven't seen until now. And, you know, like Quan Chi's new portal is incredibly important. It's given the Bone Cage a lot more usage, and it's turned Quan Chi into like a top 10 character, I feel. So that's very good. I don't know how much it's going to help Reptile, but Reptile definitely needed buffs. And I think stuff like the invisibility and whatnot, this could help. You know, again, just cool fucking combos that I can't even really describe unless I go into a very slow speed. Does a fucking choke slam, which is crazy. Also, apparently this is a new defense mechanic, is the theory. Unless it's like a Mavado specific ability. And it's like flawless blocks, send in Mavado who does like his classic, you know, shotgun dropkick thing. You know, just fucking launches Shao Kahn full screen. Apparently this is what's called a push block. And Ermac gets the flawless block and follows up immediately with that Mavado attack. As if it were like a wake up. And that's taken away full screen. So a theory running right now is every cameo has this now. They've been given an extra animation each cameo for when you do this pushback thing. For if you get a flawless block, you can knock the opponent all the way across the screen. Which, if that's what's actually happening here, I think that's a great addition. I think that's a fantastic addition. I think it's much better than MK11's like wake up system of, you know, you have your regular wake up attack, which I liked. I liked it, having dedicated wake up attacks that aren't just, oh, here's a special move off the ground. I like having dedicated moves because it's like Armageddon. MK11 had that Armageddon wake up system essentially, without the rolling around. Although even then it had a roll to just switch sides. And like, I felt this game needed more defense options, which this certainly isn't on 11's level in that sense. But you know, you could force block to a wake up, and then you just get a combo off someone trying to attack you, which I always found dumb, even though flawless blocks are so hard to do. But if you bother learning to time flawless blocks, you just win every match. But I found very dumb for anyone who spends that much time doing it. Like sure, it definitely takes skill, but it isn't fair for the opponent, right? Whereas if you have this, and this is something you can just do off of any flawless block, if you want to, I think that's completely fine, right? But because you're not putting him into a combo, it's a defense tool to just get him off you. So there's definitely a big reward to doing a flawless block there. I think that's pretty cool. I don't think that's just a regular Mavado attack. And also, flawless blocks is so, like, specific, right? Like I can't imagine you give a single character that extra ability, because I don't think Mavado specifically would need an extra buff like that. I don't know why only Mavado would have it. So I think that's a new mechanic. And it wouldn't surprise me, considering, you know, you're seeing all these new moves added. The only thing that would shock me is this would mean every cameo gets a new animation essentially, unless you somehow reworked certain moves into being this pushback. But yeah, this seems to be another thing cameos do for you, which cool, very cool. Does the teleport again? Crazy fucking shit. Like he gets on his knees at one point, which is crazy. I actually will throw his fail though, because Mavado's fucking cool. So these are his new boots, which if you didn't know, before he had just like full metal boots. And they had like retractable spikes that would come out in his fatality. Here, there's regular boots, right? Which look cool. You know, he's got a big old high heel for him, which, you know, the twinkification of Mavado continues. Which, by the way, I fuck with it, you know. So he just stabs you with a heel instead, which is also very cool. I think it's a downgrade, but also I don't really care. I couldn't get less of a fuck at that point. Again, if it was like a full fighter, then I'd probably care a bit more, but he's an assist, you know. I'm fine with it, which, you know, I think it's just bring up a lot of that. Also, he like flips you around, he does like a roll, which you can't really tell unless I slowed it down. There's like so much attention to detail, which I've only like properly analysed Mavado specifically, I feel I need to like do like an in-depth look at the other cameo models, because I picked up so much detail on Mavado specifically. So now I'm curious what I've been missing on others. Which I feel I have to skip this fatality because it's fucking crazy. It's like a wheel of torture thing. Which, oh, yeah. There it is. And like, Ermac just turns you into like a box. A little flesh box, which is probably the grossest fatality in the game, but it's fucking cool, you know? So I like it. I like it. If you go and have Ermac do like his telekinesis ripping limbs off thing, save it for fatalities, which are meant to be silly and exaggerative anyway. Right, that should not be like a canonical power of his. But there's the Ermac render. He looks great.
Ermac wins.
You know, I think the masters help a lot. I know there's Mavado's classic fatality, but because he doesn't have the spikes anymore, he does go straight through. Which I should have expected actually, because I think every fatality nowadays has to have dismemberment. You know, if it was just he stabs you, I don't think they'd do that. There has to be like some sort of like explosion. So Bravado's just really strong apparently, and just kick through you, which is cool. Look at him covered in blood, he looks fucking rad. And that was like MK9 Ermac's pose there, for which the victory pose for the main fight is different whenever Cameo does the fatality, because the Cameo gets their own specific special pose when they do their fatality. So that's neat. Also, this was what I was talking about with the weird lighting. Ermac looks so much worse there. He looks way less vibrant. It's not a good look. So I'm glad they fixed that. But yeah, like Homeland is going to be next. Farrah's going to be releasing with him. I'd assume. I don't think they... There's only 5 cameos and a carriage release between characters. So I think that's why there's one less cameo. Because the compact's going to end on Takeda. Which is a satisfying ending, I would say. But Homeland I'm not really excited for. I'm excited for Farrah. But that's going to be another less exciting trailer, I feel. Mavado... Not Mavado. Homelander is my... It's the character I just had no excitement for at all. But, you know, I ended up liking Janet Cage. You know, I think Janet's great. So, like, so far, every character in this DLC has been a hit for me. I mean, I barely touched Omni-Man, but, like, as a guest character, I like Omni-Man, you know. I don't really think he fits in MK, but I think Omni-Man's cool, so I'll allow it. I don't know how they differentiate Homeland's moveset from him. They'll find a way, but, you know, just like the principle of it is, why are you bothering to add this fucking shitty character when he doesn't even do anything that cool? He's not like really a fighter. I've seen the idea that like he'll be intentionally sloppy with his moves, which I think is a fun idea. I don't think they'll do that. So I think they're just gonna have to go crazy with the laser eyes, which again isn't anything special to MK because Kano has laser eyes. Which, by the way, you know, Jarek had laser eyes, he was called a fucking Kano clone. Suhao had a laser chest beam, he was called a Kano clone. Homeland's about as disgusting, if not more disgusting, than Kano. I'd argue Homeland is a Kano clone. But yeah, I don't really care, fucking Homelander. I think that's the only blemish on this Kombat pack. You know, because I am very much accepting of the other 2 guests in this pack. I'm fine with Omni-Man now. You know, I'm not crazy for him. I think Peacemaker is great. I don't even like the character. Like, I've seen episode 1 of his show. It is trash. It is garbage. And Homelander, yeah, I just don't... I don't like the character, and I don't see how they can make a creative moveset that'd make me care to play him, if that makes sense. I'll probably play him because he's new, and that'll probably be it. But yeah, Farrah and Takeda, we get more MKX reps. You know, I'm still on the ride here. I'm so excited for those 2. Even though Takeda's going to have really bad lore to explain why there's a Takeda going around in a new era. But, yeah, I am excited. I am excited for Ermac, who is out next week. You know, I will for sure be mastering him, probably before Mavado even comes out, you know, because I'll do what I did with Peacemaker, I suppose. I'll just take him to the new Invasion season, get the XP there, max him out, and then I'll fuck around with other characters. Because right now, like, until I'm familiar with, like, the whole roster, to at least a basic degree, you know, I'm hopping between characters. I have no main, and when they're, like, pretty consistently adding these characters, like, each season, you know, like, and you have cameos in the middle, like, there's a lot going on in this game. You know, I do disagree with the take that this game has no content. I think on a single player side, sure. Invasions is not a great side mode. I've gotten plenty of playtime out of it, and I do like each season initially. Then it feels like a grind, and it becomes more of a chore with less satisfying rewards than MK11 stars at the time, I feel. But I don't think it's that terrible. I do think there needs to be something extra. But also, I'd say that about any NRS MK game, and also MK vs DC. This is not a new thing to this franchise. I've talked about it many times. So, honestly, I think this game is in an okay state. I think things are going well. They're adding straight up new mechanics, it seems, with the push block. They're adding a lot to this game. It does feel like a beta. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. But I'm liking it. I am liking this game so much more than I thought I would. You know, like, I fucking shat on this thing when it got revealed. And honestly, rightfully so. He does not look good here. But man, I am excited for Ermac. You know, and I really like the cameos, which I initially said I thought were a dumb idea. Now I don't want MK to be without them. You know, if cameos are removed in the next game, which I think they are, I probably won't even want to buy it off of that alone. Because I think the cameos just add so much incentive for me to play this game. It's the main reason I'm playing it, because the roster is crazy. And when you're adding guys like Mavado, it just gets crazier, you know? I don't think it's a perfect system. This game is far from perfect. But I'm having a good time with it, which is something I did not expect to be saying a few months ago until I got in December. And I was like, okay, this game is starting to click with me. And I'm a fan. You know, I'm a fan. Not of the law stuff. You know, if you go back to any of my old ranty old videos, which I haven't looked back on, but from like the build to release, I'll probably still stand by most of the stuff I said, because I think most of my complaints were story-wise, you know, because that just, they kept like doing these like story drops that would overshadow the gameplay. And you know, the gameplay in the trailers and stuff, it looked kind of bog standard. You know, and the cameos seemed a bit OP at the time, which people think the cameos are overpowered, but I don't think it personally. You know, I'm actually surprised how balanced this game is compared to what I expected. I don't think it's on MK11 levels of balance, but I think it's decently balanced. You know, give it more patches, and it'll be fine. And you know, when a lot of ways they're balancing weak characters as giving them new moves, that is exciting. I wouldn't be surprised if Havoc gets new moves soon, which is a very exciting thought. I feel Havoc needs some stuff. He goddamn needs some stuff. His gear on Switch is still broken, most of it. The Deception helmet is fine. It works properly, so I guess that's the most important one. But yeah, dude is fucked up on that version. And I'd argue he's the weakest character in the game. I think he's got fundamental issues. He's got too many weaknesses that they definitely put to make sure he wasn't overpowered, because with like his neck snap thing, that is a pretty strong ability. They definitely overcompensated to try and make sure he was balanced. That has actually made him weak, and they still haven't really changed that. But I will be patient on it. But I do hope Havoc gets some stuff in that regard. But yeah, I feel just at the end of this video, might as well give some general thoughts on the game itself. You know, I like it. I don't think it's perfect. It has its issues. I've kind of acknowledged them all before. I enjoy it. And I think that's the more important thing. And I think the roster is getting really cool stuff. I think they're doing cool stuff with character movesets. And I think as a player, I think that's the most important thing. From a story perspective, I think the story is completely dead. I think you can't recover from this new era. Unless you're like a casual and you don't really care about the lore, then I think you're fine. Because I think this game has mostly good characterization. So yeah, that's just kind of my rambly thoughts. My monthly rambly thoughts. I keep saying this. I do want to do Armageddon versus videos. I do, but I got stuff going on. You know, I'm writing my Reborn fanfic, which is a more Kombat fanfic. We're on chapter 100 now, so that's pretty big. I'm pretty excited to finish that one. Because that's taken over 4 years, so that's taken like MK11's life cycle to get there. And, you know, I got college work. And I'm playing games like this that I love and I hate at this point. But this is, like, overall, this is the most positive I've been about MK in a while. In a sense of, like, a modern entry. I've never been, like, a fucking whiny, like, a hater of the overall franchise. It's just been, I disagree with a lot of the modern stuff. Mainly in the sense of the live service focus and the story stuff, which I think are atrocious in this game. But I think there's enough to compensate it for me with this crazy roster and a really good gameplay. That is the main thing that's keeping me around for this one. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching. I'm very excited for Mavado, and I'll see you later. Bye.